Ooh. Hi, I am Milène Jardine. This is my co-star today. I'm from home. This is Bear. He's going to help out with this lovely wine and chocolate tasting. So welcome to Chocolates by Milène Jardine Chocolatier and Wines by Brooklyn Winery. So I'm so grateful to have the Made in New York City team host me today. Let me tell you a little bit about Brooklyn Winery. Then we can get into some of my chocolates and we can go through the pairing. So Brooklyn Winery, they're going on their 10-year anniversary, actually. So everything is made at their Brooklyn facility. So it's truly a made in New York City wine. Today we're going to be working with a dry rosé that we have here, a Cuvée Noir, and we have a Malbec. So they are great partners. We've worked on some other events together before. And my chocolates are Milène Jardine Chocolatier. So what we have today are some truffles. So here is the big box. And if I show you on camera, so that is the full assortment that I have. So what is a truffle? So a truffle, the way I make them is there is a thin chocolate shell. It's a molding technique. And then the inside is ganache. And ganache is fresh cream and butter. And then what we do is we infuse it with real, fruits, herbs, nuts. And they all tell stories about different countries. Each one takes you on a little journey, and the vision is to celebrate diversity through chocolate. I thank you, Bear. He likes that. He's agreeing. And then in addition to the truffles, we also have bars. So similar concept to the truffles, except for there's no cream or butter in them. It's just dark chocolate. And then what we do is we infuse in real fruits, nuts, herbs, and spices in it. It's actually, the herbs are tempered throughout the bar. So it's a unique process. The ones we're going to be working with today is the Sicilian salted lemon. I'll zoom in on that. And you can see there's wonderful artwork on it. It is from a designer that I used to work with when I worked at building brands. I worked in corporate fashion. Her name is Akiko. And when we both left Macy's, we decided to work together, and she helped me design these packaging. So another thing you can see about the bars is they are really, really thin. So if I kind of bring that up, see how thin that is? It's almost like paper thin, and it's really great for tastings with what we're doing right here. Because chocolate naturally is a very strong flavor. And when you add in another herb, so this has Sicilian salted lemon. So there's little pieces of lemon peel and salt straight from Sicily. So when you have that thin bar, when you put it on your mouth and you let it melt, the lemon comes out faster. As opposed to if you have a really, really thick bar, there's so much chocolate in your mouth, it takes a long time and it's harder to taste the other flavors in the bar. And that's why I intentionally make them really, really thin. So we have our Sicilian salted lemon. We also have our dark chocolate. So that's this one. And then we also have a rosemary. So the first pairing that we have, I like to call it the refreshing pairing because it's paired back to the dry rosé. So think of a rosé, think you're in the summer in Provence. It's a very elegant, bright wine, and there is the citrus in there. So it starts off with a guava taste, and then it kind of evolves into a grapefruit. So you think of those citrus profiles, you think it's very refreshing, which is why I named it the refreshing profile. And I paired it back to the hibiscus mint truffle. So that's this guy here. You can see there's actual real hibiscus dusted on top. And hibiscus is naturally tart. So it goes back to the tart flavor profiles in the wine. And then the Sicilian salted lemon, obviously lemon is a citrus and also tart. So the three, I think, make a wonderful pairing. So you take I like to start with the wine, twirl it around a little, let it open up. Take a sip. So is everyone not getting that? The nice refreshing taste to it. There's that little hint of citrus. It's a dry wine. And then when you take it with the truffle, so we're going to bite into the hibiscus mint truffle. This is one of my favorite truffles. So if you see in the inside, I don't know if you can see it well, but there's that soft ganache inside. There's the thin shell around the outside. So you have that hibiscus tartness, goes back to the citrus and acidity in the wine. Let's take another sip of wine. And then we'll go to the Sicilian salted lemon. And you're going to tell when chocolate is properly tempered, it's going to snap. So if you listen, hear that? Chef Esteban, he's our head chocolatier. He's a master temperer. Everything is always perfectly tempered. He's amazing. Okay, let's make it again. Just like hearing a snap. Okay, so then you take a little piece, let it melt on your tongue. You get that lemon. With that little bit of salt, it really opens it up. And you let it melt on your tongue. That's how you really eat chocolate. You're not supposed to really chew it. You're supposed to let it melt and enjoy it. And the fun thing about Sicilian lemons, they're really big. And you think lemon, you think that it does have tart aspects to it, but what's great about the Sicilian variation is it's also sweet. It's a lemon that's sweet. And that's why I used it to pair in the chocolate bars. And I get the lemons straight from Giuseppe. He's the farmer in Sicily who grows the lemons there. Then he has a process where he takes the peels, he lets them dry out, and then he sends them to me, and then I put them in the chocolate. So finish that off with a little bit of the rosé. Another fun thing actually about this truffle flavor. So I told you a little bit about the bar, right? The origins are from Sicily, Italy. So the truffle, this hibiscus mint, its name is Goddess. And the inspiration there is from Egypt. So if you ever go to Egypt, hibiscus is the tea of the gods. So you get hibiscus tea, I feel like, every time you're around the pyramids. And then if you just get regular black tea there in Egypt, they always ground it with fresh mint. And I love that, whether it be middle of summer, it can be really hot, they still drink their tea, their black tea hot with fresh mint in it. It's very refreshing. So I decided to take the two flavors together and make a hibiscus mint truffle. And then I named it Goddess because while I was there, I learned about some of the female pharaohs like Hatshepsut, Cleopatra, and then the CEO of the factory I used to work with, because I used to do garment production for retail, and she was a CEO in the heart of Cairo. And that was something that I never would have known or really seen unless I was traveling. If like whenever you watch the news, you don't hear much positivity coming out of the Middle East in terms of women's rights. But this was over 10 years ago, led this factor, and she was a woman. So I decided to name the truffle goddess to pay homage to the are kind of the ancient goddesses, these pharaohs, and then the new modern day goddesses. So that is the refreshing profile. Does anyone have any questions, any comments before we move on to the next one? Okay. So then the next pairing that I have, this is called the decadent pairing. And what I did was we took the Cuvée Noir and we paired it back to a dark chocolate truffle and then a dark chocolate chocolate bar. So the Cuvée Noir, it's a great blend of red wine. You have your Grenache grapes and your Petit Syrah grapes, and it's a really velvety, smooth, rich, decadent wine. There are some dusted cherry notes and then some other bolder red fruit notes, and it's Brooklyn Winery's version of a Côte de Rhône, and they do a wonderful job with it. And it just makes sense then to have this classic red wine paired back to a dark chocolate truffle and a dark chocolate bar. So we're gonna swirl the wine around, take a sip. What does everyone think? It's good. Okay. And here we can switch it up. We can go right to the bar. So this 70% chocolate bar, the beans are from Peru and Ecuador. And what's fun about this 70% blend is it's very high in cocoa butter. So a lot of times people are afraid of dark chocolate because they feel that it could be a little bit chalky. It can be a little bit too bitter. But these beans, they are both fruity and spicy when you get the blend with these two South American countries. And then the rich cocoa butter content allows it to melt in your mouth very, very quickly. And there we go again with the snap. There we go, you hear that? And I'll take a little piece. Let it melt. Oh, Michelle, the hibiscus, it is wonderful. And then with the mint, it's very refreshing. Where are you from, Michelle? Actually. So, gonna go back to have a little bit of the wine. And then we'll go to the truffle. So if you see this truffle, you know it's a dark chocolate truffle. There's a little bit of cocoa powder dusted on top. That's what that coloration is. There's no artificial flavors, no artificial colors, just chocolate. So this one is truly chocolate, butter, and cream. So the outside shell is a 55% couverture, and the beans come from all countries around the equator, so it's a nice blend. And then the inside is that 70% chocolate, the same that's in the bar. You see that? See like a nice creamy inside. Okay. And then, why not have another little sip of wine? Thank you for joining us, Cheyenne. It is wonderful. I wish I could share with my dog, but I can't. Chocolate and dogs don't mix. But he often tries to eat chocolate. Sometimes when I come back from a shift, if there's chocolate on my shoe, he'll try to lick my shoe. So I have to make sure I don't have any chocolate remains on me, or else he'll try to eat it. He's a smart dog, but it's not good for him. He knows it tastes good, though. Okay. So that was the decadent pairing. Does anyone have any questions about that before we move on? No? Okay. So then last is the savory pairing. So this one is a lot of fun. I took the rosemary chocolate bar, paired back to a whiskey sea salt truffle. So you're seeing a savory theme here. And then we have the Malbec wine from Brooklyn Winery. So the Malbec, so the grapes, when Brooklyn Winery makes their wine, the wine is truly made in Brooklyn, but some of their grapes are from New York and some of their grapes are from California. So for this Malbec blend, it is coming from the valleys by San Francisco, these grapes. And it opens up where it has a little bit more blueberries and blackberry notes, but then it transitions off to like a nice cut leaf and a nutmeg. So you're ending with that savory note, and that's why I chose to pair it with some of these savory chocolates. So you take the wine, and it's rich, it's chewy, there's really understandable tannins. Okay, pass that around. Okay. Let's go to the whiskey. So this whiskey sea salt truffle, it's called Serenity because it's wonderful. If anyone has ever been to Ireland, that's where it's inspired from. It is just, there's such beautiful, the green, the land it's wonderful. Whenever I kind of take a bite of this, I think of the green pastures with the wind blowing and the beautiful blue skies. And what I did was when I went to Ireland, I went to a lot of the whiskey distilleries because that's what you do when you're in Ireland. And I really like the Bushmills whiskey. So there's Bushmills whiskey straight from Ireland. You have your sea salt, and let's take a bite. And there's actually a hint of maple syrup. I like the combo together, and it almost makes it feel a little bit like a caramel, even though it's truly a ganache. It's chocolate, cream, butter. Then you have your whiskey. You have your maple syrup. You have your sea salt. That's all mixed into the ganache. And then after this truffle is made, there's also, I don't know if you can see, there's like a little bit of salt on the edges to decorate it and then kind of open up your palate faster. Salt's very good at that. Okay. Okay. Bear's had enough. He fell over. He's going to sleep. Okay. Have a little bit more wine while you're up again. Okay. Then let's go to the rosemary. So rosemary, I mean, it's very dominant, all the Mediterranean regions. It has a lot of healing properties. And it's rosemary that's actually taken and it's broken down into a powder consistency. And then as we're melting the chocolate and tempering it, that rosemary is actually distributed into the melting chocolate. So every bite has an even distribution of rosemary. I don't like when people make bars and they just put some of the ingredients on the back of the bar and they say, oh, this is I don't know, an almond bar, but it's not tempered all the way through. It's just drizzled on the back. So for this rosemary, you can tell, right? If it tempers, you hear that snap. Here we go. So this rosemary is evenly distributed throughout. You can even smell when you smell it, you can smell that rosemary and chocolate. It's two of ingredients that I like a lot, which is why I put them together. That melt on your tongue. The rosemary really comes out. Have a little bit more wine. And the savory rosemary helps to kind of open up the woody aromas in the wine. And that is the savory pairing. Does anybody have any questions? What did they think? Is there anything else anybody wants to know about chocolate? Let me look through some of these comments. Oh, Cheyenne, so you like, yes, the rosemary chocolate's very interesting. And the whiskey sea salt is definitely, I feel like, a favorite. It's very, very understandable. People really resonate towards that savory, the salt, and then you have a little hint of sweetness with the maple, and then the whiskey. Who doesn't like whiskey, right? So that's definitely a favorite. What else should I tell you guys? So the dark chocolate truffle, I didn't get into too much. That one is inspired by France. Its name is Puriste. My mother is Parisian. You could tell by the name that I have some French in me, but you could tell by my accent that I grew up in New York City. So the Puriste is kind of my homage to the French. It's nothing but chocolate, butter, and cream. The French like to keep things very classic and simple, and so I named it Puriste. Something that is not in my truffle that's in most others is a lot of people put glucose when they're making the ganache, and with that, pastry chefs feel it does is it adds consistency to it. It adds makes the shelf life a little bit longer. I don't believe in it. I don't like adding additional sugar because I feel like there's so much sugar in our diets regularly. So I do not add any glucose when I'm making these truffles. The chocolate naturally has, sugar in it. It's a 55% blend. So the sugar that goes into making the physical chocolate couverture is the only sugar then that is added into these confections. I don't add it into the ganache. And I mean, when you try them, you could tell they're quite lovely. They're creamy and, they're made fresh. They're only good for 2 weeks, similar to a croissant in France. You wouldn't go and get a croissant that's a day, 2 days old there. They get rid of them. So similar concept. The truffle should be eaten right away. Eat them fresh. They're not meant to last a long time. That's why I don't add sugar or any other preservatives to them. Let me scroll. I see some more comments coming in. Yes, the pup is wonderful. This is Bear. He's happy as a clam as long as I'm home. He just doesn't like if I ever go anywhere. And he can't come to the kitchen with me, even though he'd love it, but he can't. So let me tell you about some of the other flavors. So there's a toasted coconut and kaffir lime leaf bar. That's also in the assortment. There is a pistachio. And the pistachio bar, there's pistachio that's tempered throughout the bar, and then there's also pistachio dusted on the back. So that's like a double dose of pistachio. So that's for the bar assortment. And then for the truffles, there's 2 other flavors that we didn't work with today. So there is a ginger turmeric black pepper, and you can see there's kind of these black toasted sesame seeds on top. So this is a bit of has like your spicy profile for the assortment. And then the 5th flavor in the box that we didn't get into today either was the Harvey Wallbanger. It's called Tradition, and it's, if anyone knows what a Harvey Wallbanger is, it's orange and Galliano liqueur. And that flavor is actually inspired by New York City in particular. So after doing a lot of traveling and, visiting a lot of countries, what I like best about the US is we're kind of this melting pot, right, of all these cultures together, especially in New York. And my grandfather, he was every holiday he would make this Harvey Wallbanger cake. So I translated it into a truffle, and I called it tradition because that's really what makes this country so special is everyone's unique traditions, and that's why I named it then tradition. So hold on, I see some more questions coming in. Is the whiskey flavor more strong or sweet? So you do taste the whiskey, which adds a strong element to it, but then the salt kind of opens up the chocolate. So you taste the chocolate, and it's a 55% couverture, so it's very understandable. It's not too strong. And then there's that hint of maple syrup that gives you just a little bit of sweetness. So I feel like it's a very balanced chocolate. Does that answer your question? I hope so. I wish we could talk. Usually, I do a lot of pairings, in person, pre-COVID, and they're a lot of fun. But virtual is just as good. It's good for now. It's the way we have to go. What else can I tell you about these chocolates? There's online, there's the 15-piece that you can get. There is the 5-piece. So each of these boxes has the 5 flavor assortment. It's called the Live by Love assortment. So it's these 5 core flavors. And then each season I do something new and fun. So right now there's a Pistachio Butter is the seasonal flavor. And it's just pistachio with a little bit of salt. And it's actually churned and made into a butter. And it's put into these actual chocolate shells. So it's almost like it's like a nicer version of a Reese's peanut butter cup. So it has the nice dark chocolate shell with true pistachio butter inside. And the newest flavor coming out for this fall is a Shiro Misu. So inspired by Japan. I happen to love Japan. And it's actual miso that is incorporated into the ganache. And so it's chocolate, butter, cream, and then this Shiro Misu. And I was a little bit afraid to do it. I was requested the Michelin chef Odo. I'm working with him on some pairings at his restaurant. He encouraged me to make the Shiro Misu, and it's actually fabulous because the Shiro Misu, it's naturally savory and has that salty component to it, and then it just makes the truffle even creamier because it already has that creamy texture to it. So that's coming out for fall. I'm very excited. It's elegant too. There's chocolate drizzle on it and there's some gold on top. So it's very sophisticated truffle we have for the fall. It's a weird time, so we need to up the level of chocolate and self-care, right? Self-care Sunday. What else? You could still go online too, so you can buy this kind of chocolate and wine pairing. It's still available. So if you go to my website and you click on the chocolate and wine pairing, you'd order the chocolate for me, and then you could go to Brooklyn Winery and order the wines directly from them, and it would give you these 3 wines and then these 3 chocolates, and you can pick the size. So whether for the chocolates, whether you're doing a pairing by yourself or with a whole group of people. And then there's the vegan option. If you just want to do it vegan, then you would just get the bars and not the truffles. So yeah. Joanna, what do you think? Is anyone asking any more questions? I'm happy to stay on longer, but if people have places to go, or dinner to eat right after drinking all this wine and chocolate, you might want actual dinner, which is completely fine. All right. Let me just check. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, I'm Milène Jardine from Milène Jardine Chocolatier. And we did the pairing today with Brooklyn Winery. You see there. And Brooklyn Winery too, they have indoor dining open now as well. So they have the outdoor seating and indoor seating where you can get wine and food and cheese. So if you wanted to have a fun pairing in person there, you can do that. So I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Sunday. And yeah, thank you for joining. And hope Bear, here you gonna say goodbye? Bear says goodbye. Bear actually wants dinner. That's why he's sitting so close to me. He gets fed at 5 o'clock, and if he doesn't get fed at 5 o'clock, he gets quite rowdy. So he's making sure I know that he's there, and I will feed him at 5. So we'll get dinner ready for him. And thank you, everyone. Bye.